Hello and welcome to the Flicks Forum podcast with Jesse, Heater and MJ, where each week we're going back and looking at a Netflix original film in the order of release. In this week's episode, we're looking at Netflix's 36th film, the 2017 crime film Small Crimes. It's directed by Evan Katz. It stars Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, Gary Cole, Molly Parker, Macon Blair, Pat Healy, Jacki Weaver and Robert Forster. Hello.
Hey mates.
Hey mates.
Feels like a long time between.
It has, yeah.
It's been a long week this
It's been
month.
a very big week.
Sure has. You're not sounding too good there, MJ.
I'm a little bit crook, but I was like, do we bring it up or not? But I guess we're bringing it up.
We are.
Sorry, I thought,
No, that's all right.
Make sure that people know that we're dedicated to this podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't miss a recording session for it.
We're in the hospital right now, just on MJ's bedside to record this.
Make sure to
Hey,
get.
I've got to ask, you read the cast name out. The guy from Game of Thrones. Is
Nikolaj Coster-Waldau?
Is it not Nikolaj?
No, Nikolaj.
Have you guys seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yes.
Nikolaj.
Boyle's son?
Nikolaj.
Yeah.
True.
I was reading this for the first time, like, oh my gosh, his name's Nikolaj, like, because obviously I just know him as Jamie Lannister, but it's Nikolaj. Well, that's no fun then.
Well, I'm glad I got one right.
I actually thought you pronounced it really well.
Oh, good. Good. Okay, so
There's a bloody J there though.
silent.
Yeah, silent.
All right.
So Boyle's wrong.
We always kick off our show with a little bit of a fast flicks where we go around and do our own little summary of the film. MJ, hit us off.
Let's do it. An intriguing and ambitious crime drama following an ex-cop's release from a stint in jail. As we learn more about what put him in there in the first place, we discover that his issues from the past are still plaguing him now. He's back on the outside.
Nice. Heater.
Pretty similar. A disgraced former cop is released after 6 years in prison and returns home hoping to get his life back on track. However, his past sins haven't been forgotten and he is forced back into the world he thought he'd left behind.
Nice. So I've gone with the dirty cop is released from jail and wants to make amends to his life. However, it's not easy for him to escape his past. All on the same
Sounds
path.
like we all watch the same movie, which
Yes.
is always a good start.
So we'd like to also have a look at anything that we've learned about the film, anything we've found out about its making, development, anything like that. Anyone got anything they want to share?
It's the adaptation of a novel by David Zeltzman of the same name.
Yes, definitely.
Good pronunciation there, too.
I thought it was.
Thanks, mate.
I thought this one was interesting. That the screenplay was written by the director and Macon Blair, who directed one of the films that we've covered on this podcast. I don't feel at home in this world anymore, and he also plays the character Scotty in the film too.
He does, yeah.
I didn't realise that till afterwards. I should have recognised him from the guy who ruined the book. Yeah, I don't feel that. So, Evan Katz, who is the director, he had never met Macon Blair before they worked on this screenplay together.
Oh wow!
So he read the novel. I think his brother said, "Hey, read this novel." When he read it, and he's like, "All right, I can see this being a film." And he respected Blair's work and ability as like a noir screenwriter. So he got in touch with him, and they said, "Yeah, let's work on this together." And
Wow.
there's that. Yeah,
Great story. That's cool.
Difference from the novel. I saw that. So Phil and his daughter. So Phil's sort of the.
what is he? He's like the
District.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
He's a district attorney.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a district attorney.
So him and his daughter in the film, they're African American, but in the novel they were Caucasian.
Yeah.
So that was a nice little
Change there, yeah.
change of add some representation in there. Which is good.
2008, 2017. That's the
Yeah,
the societal differences we have.
it's good.
It is good. It is very good.
Anything else?
Filmed in Canada,
Yeah.
in Montreal.
Quebec.
Yeah, and premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival in March 11, and Netflix, they purchased the rights a month ahead of its premiere at that festival.
Yeah, and then dropped on Netflix in April.
April 28th, so about 6 weeks after its premiere.
And it was part of South by Southwest as like the narrative spotlight screening. So obviously they thought this had a good story rather than more than anything else. Consensus.
Pretty average consensus.
Not too bad though. Like 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb is. I mean, you're not happy with it, but you take it.
I mean, yeah,
it's not a bomb.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not good. I mean, Letterboxd 2.8 out of 5, which is again pretty similar kind of rating.
But not overwhelmingly positive. What did it do on Rotten Tomatoes?
63, but only on 16 reviews.
16
and the
reviews.
audience rating was 31% though. So
That was only on 268 ratings.
268, yes. Yeah.
That feels all kind of similar, telling a similar story.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Again, though, I mean, we talked about that audience score. It's only if they give it a 3.5 out of 5. it counts as an audience score.
Yep.
So I mean, plenty could have given it, you know, a 2.8 to 3 out of 5, and it's not counted as part of the audience score. So
Yeah.
all seems pretty similar. Seems about kind of a 5 out of 10.
All right.
1.5 out of 10.
Well, just before we go into anything else, I've found out that it took them 3 years to find a lead to play in this film. Essentially because on the page, the script felt a lot darker than how the film was ultimately executed. And plenty of actors just didn't want to play like this real sort of piece of shit dude that really doesn't find any redemption.
Yeah.
At the time, Nikolaj, he was obviously Jaime Lannister on Game of Thrones, who's kind of like the perfect kind of, he brings that darkness to a role where you don't care if he's a bad dude. Like, so he kind of had that in his wheelhouse anyway. So until when they found him, I think things moved pretty quickly after that.
Yeah. It was a good pick for him.
All right, so before we move any further, let's get at some early thoughts. What are some early thoughts on this film before we sort of pull it apart? Heater?
I pretty much agree with a lot of the kind of the critical consensus. I thought it was okay. I'm a kind of big fan of this genre of film, and so this was kind of like my kind of film. But it just didn't do enough for me. So I mean, I did not like it. I didn't like it too much. It was okay for me.
Yeah, I really like a premise that doesn't fill in all the holes right away, but they still make it really clear and easy to follow. So, like, you know that he went to jail, you don't know why. You know there's some sort of restraining order with his family, but you don't know why. You know that he's admitting fault to what he did, but you're not sure what he did initially. Yeah. And so initially I was interested enough to find out, as long as it didn't take me on too much of a joyride to figure out what it was, but I think that the thing that made it fall down for me was it's just such a risky proposition having your main protagonist someone who just doesn't deserve any sympathy from the audience.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like, I'm okay with them trying to depict this real character, but I think they just fully committing to that premise, they back themselves into a bit of a corner. And at the end, I didn't know how I wanted it to end. And then when it did, that's not how I wanted it to end. But then I didn't know what I would have preferred.
Strange ending, I thought.
I just think they were out of options.
Yeah.
Like, they'd written this story and then obviously it's based on a novel, but...
Yeah. It really kind of just felt like it just ended. Like it was just kind of like, we're going along and now, bang, it's ended. Like, oh, wow, that was it. That was just really weird for me, yeah.
Where are you, Jesse?
Well, so I'm probably I'll put it out there now, like, we're going to spoil this film from now on, so if you haven't seen it...
Cool.
Yeah.
Nearly did it.
Yep. Yeah, you guys did a very, very good job spoiling free there. I'm going to spoil it right now. So this is one of the Netflix films that I remember sitting there watching when it came out. I was like, okay, perfect. And there's the next few films, there's a few that I've seen because this was like one of those stages where I'm like, I'm going to sit and watch as soon as they come out. And I remember enjoying it. And I've probably mentioned this on this podcast before, like, I don't have the best sort of memory, like, for film. So I remember if I like film, that sort of thing. And I'm going to spoil it. Like, the end of the film, in my memory, I thought Joe killed both his parents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was pleasantly surprised. I feel like an absolute idiot, but I was engaged because as soon as, like, there's this scene where the house gets shot up and the mum goes to hospital, I'm like, hang on. I thought that Joe kills his parents. so I was...
that's great. It's like a new movie for you.
It was pretty much...
She didn't die then.
No,
though, so
she didn't. She didn't die.
Still.
And I was... Wow, yeah. So all I can say is my poor memory has made me enjoy this more than I thought.
So when he gets stabbed at the end, were you just like... Now he's going to kill them both.
Yeah, and then I was like, now I remember. And I was like, I had this completely wrong.
So you did like it then, the movie?
Yeah, I don't, it wasn't the best film I've ever seen, but I enjoyed it.
Okay.
So I didn't know back in the day, so obviously we're recording this in 2019, this film's 2017. I didn't know back in the day that you were trying to watch all the Netflix films as they came out.
It lasted for like a month.
The birth of the podcast. Is that the idea planted in his
is that
brain?
how you came up with the idea of this podcast and then you roped Heater and I along?
I just had this thing where I was like, I want to watch some Netflix films, and I don't know what happened. And then 2 years later, I was like, let's try to do this.
Flix Forum was born.
Flix Forum was born. All right, so we'll like to have a look at some characters who we liked, who we didn't like, what stood out, any of the the sorts of things that we've seen on the screen. Mm-hmm. I'm going to kick it off because at the start, you really had to focus, and MJ sort of spoke about this before, where there was very little exposition. It was up to you as the audience to work out who the characters were, what they were up to, because it was a slow reveal. Yeah, each of the things was slow reveal, and I really liked that. But at the same time, I feel like they made it really hard for you to like any of the characters in this film.
Massive,
Not just Joe, the guy who we've spoken about, has real no redemption or anything like that. But I found it. I thought Joe's dad was probably the one character who, you're supposed to think he's the shining light that's trying to do something right, and then the end, it's just
I mean, we can talk about the end later, because I've got a few thoughts on that as well. But I agree that Joe's dad was kind of meant to be, he's kind of a good, conscious, kind of rational guy, but he's also like too passive.
I felt like he did like a good job of controlling that anger between his mum and him, because the mum was at him all the time, and I felt like he was sort of that. Without him there, Joe could have blown up a lot earlier, and I felt like he was that sort of barrier to. Yeah,
he definitely was. And you're right, he's
absolutely,
also the closest thing you get to like thinking this guy's alright.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Everyone else is pretty bad. And that's, I think with Joe, there was just nothing redeeming about him. And I was kind of expecting, I don't care that he didn't get a redeeming quality, because that's kind of, as I think I said in my Fast Flicks, it's an ambitious film. They've gone out on a limb to have a character who's leading this whole way who you actually don't like and you have no reason to like. They did it really well, where he rehearses what he says before he says it to people, because it's just a flat out lie.
Exactly.
And at the start I was like, this would be something that he'll overgrow, and then he just keeps doing it. But was it meant to be redeeming that he was kind of cool with his dad killing him?
Well, I think it was redeeming because of his actions at the end with him wiping the knife. I thought that was kind of, maybe they were trying to make him redeeming at the end, whereas, I think it shows he wipes off his dad's fingerprints and puts his own prints on the knife, so his dad won't get done for murder or make it seem like suicide. So I think, maybe they kind of did it that way, but just kind of not enough, too little too late kind of thing.
Yeah, what frustrated me the most about Joe was like they set up this overarching thing at the start that he wanted his kids back, but there was little reference throughout. Yeah,
he wanted his kids back, and then like an hour and 20 went by, and it was just kind of like nothing really happened there at all.
Yeah, the start was good. Like goes to the library, finds the phone number.
Yeah,
but there was I feel like
there was a little bit of Gary Cole kind of like
keep him on track, almost
blackmailing him to do stuff, to do it. But even still, there wasn't really much.
Yeah, there weren't no check-ins throughout. Weren't obvious enough. I think. And they tried to show you had glimpses of this changing, and they set that up at the start where he gets attacked in that car, and they're like, "Do you want to lay charges?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "No, I'm happy to move ahead," and
doesn't want to live the past.
Yeah, doesn't want to live the past. And even though he did rehearse those lines, he did go to Phil's house to say, "Look, I'm sorry, I want to move on." But it's a tricky one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I really liked the performance of Nikolaj Coster-Waldau.
Yeah.
I actually thought he was really good, but just his character was just.
And there were moments where he goes to that Manny guy who's dying in the bed, and he takes the tubes out, and then he goes to suffocate him. And does he only stop suffocating because Charlotte's walking in? That's the sort of question.
He does.
He does. And what really annoyed me was the first time that he sits down to have food with Charlotte, he lies to her straight away, and I'm just like, yeah.
But I mean, if you'd also just got out of prison for slashing the face of the DA, would you be open and honest about that straight away with someone you just met?
But she was and you find out she
knew
anyway.
Yeah, but
but the lie to me that was more annoying was talking about his dad. Like you're saying, my dad had cancer as well, and he didn't know where he's going. But I did think that their relationship was portrayed all right, Joe and Charlotte. I thought that. You never had any thought that he had any interest in her whatsoever, other than to get to.
She was a means to
Manny's. Yeah, exactly. And and I thought they did a real good job with her house, like the cats and the cat just sitting there meowing, and those creepy dolls, to make it out like she's not the type of person that he would ever be interested in.
She's a strange person.
That actually is a good segue to my thoughts on Charlotte. Is what was her motivation for being with him?
I reckon she was lonely.
But and I agree. To be with him in the first place, but then to do the things that she did for him.
I mean,
is it all just she was super lonely and this guy?
I think she's super lonely because she's caring for. She spends her whole life caring for this guy. But I think probably maybe there was a backstory that wasn't explored. Of maybe she's got a dark past, so she maybe kind of understands kind of what he's going through, so she wants to help him out. But it was not explained at all in the movies, so you're just kind of guessing, going as if someone would do that.
That character just didn't work for me.
Sure, I mean, she goes and she suffocates Manny, surely knowing that means her own death.
Well,
Like his son's going to come after her. Like she's going to be a suspect in the murder anyway. Like
She probably wasn't expected to be caught.
Yeah, I was
like,
going to say, if she's not caught, she just goes, "Oh, he died."
He died,
And
yeah.
they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
how'd that happen?" It's like, "Oh, well, he's pretty cruel."
Yeah.
well, obviously she wasn't very careful about it. Then like she didn't lock the doors or anything.
Yeah, that annoyed me. I was like, "Come on!"
Like the doors are open.
Who's
like,
in the house?
it would show before that his son he couldn't get in the house before. So surely there's some way of preventing him out there. But suddenly, the doors are open and he can just walk in and see.
Yeah, I just couldn't buy that character. I was like,
Yeah.
you know, what
Yeah, she was a bit-
how does this all work for you? You
Yeah.
know, you need to have character motivations
Yeah.
that work for them, not just because they work for another character.
Yeah. What did you think of Jackie Weaver's character, the mother?
The character?
Yeah. I found her so annoying.
I
Just the
can-
constant yelling.
I can
and-
totally see like why you'd find her annoying, but I thought
Yeah.
if anyone else, like I know we're not talking about acting performances, but I feel like if anyone else played that character, it would have been even more annoying for me. I thought she did a good job of
understand that.
of doing that
It was a
role.
pretty good performance. I just
Yeah.
the constant yelling and hassling. Like,
I don't know. I can sort of understand that mother-son relationship.
Yeah.
Like he would have been an absolute handful, and he wasn't. I mean, neither of them really were cutting any slack either way, but he wasn't sort of trying to help her in any way.
no, yeah, it's true.
Like, it would have been so frustrating. You're watching your son almost on the cusp of just blowing his whole life up.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, well, what can I do now? It would be frustrating. So, that was I quite liked that relationship.
Just going to go back to Joe like a little bit. So I think it's probably I just still a little bit confused with his character because, you know, like early in the film we see him go to the bar and he drinks. You know,
Yeah.
he's violent.
He gives up his sobriety quite quickly, doesn't he?
See him doing drugs as well. So these are all the things that he'd like claimed that he'd change his life from. But then like, you know, he gets this idea that he's going to blackmail Phil with this video that he's going to record of him, like, you know, with solicitation. And then, you know, he's like, oh, I want it to be clean. I don't want anyone to die. So I was just confused, like, with what his character was trying to be. And I guess maybe that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, I guess, you know, he was...
So that actually, in one of the scenes I wanted to talk about that I didn't like was when he goes into Phil's house, basically has that opportunity to kill him, but then he doesn't. Does he, like, they kind of show it as he sees the scars on, you know, all across Phil's body
and realises
then
what he's already done.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think like they're trying to show that
It's
he's
real murky
he's
for me.
trying to redeem himself, but they don't do a very good job of it. Or like he's, you know, he's sometimes trying to redeem himself and sometimes he's not. Like what depends on what suits his agenda at the time.
which is, you know, I guess that's not unrealistic.
Yeah.
That people have fleeting motivation to
Oh,
do
yeah,
the right
exactly.
thing, and then they
And-
just it's just easier to slip back into old bad habits.
I mean, like you're supposed to think he's doing this to try and get back to his kids. Like he's doing this so that his old detective partner will help him with the lawyer to get back to his kids. But
And then there's also there's more conflicting stuff because like his mum and dad have been threatened now. He doesn't want to have to go back to jail himself, so he's got all these priorities that it's just not clear what his actual goal is. I think.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that was deliberate to try and make it feel for an audience and then probably for Joe as well that this whirlwind's happening around him. It's no longer this linear thing. Like if you do this happens.
Yeah.
There's just so much and there's so many variables and yeah.
I got one more character.
Yep.
Dan, the cop.
Yeah.
I didn't like him as a person, but I still enjoyed him. Like,
I thought he was very funny.
yeah.
He provided some of the great moments in this movie for me just because it was funny. I'm not even sure if it was supposed to be funny, but I found some of his stuff very funny. And I don't really like Harry Cole as an actor. Like he plays some really good bit parts in stuff, but his character was kind of a piece of shit as well. But he was funny.
Entourage?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. No, I'm thinking of someone else. It might be.
maybe.
Can't remember.
Just thought of that then. Anyway.
But yeah, why he's not a good bloke. I still found him really enjoyable to watch. He was one of my favourite parts of the movie. Good.
So this is the director's second feature,
I think. Yeah.
Cheap Thrills was the one I saw he did in 2013.
Yeah.
He's written a lot of
Yeah, he's got
TV.
some writing. He got TV and shorts as well, a few shorts.
And the one thing I saw was that he did a segment for the ABCs of Death, number 2. He did the letter A.
That's right, yeah.
And I've recently watched the first one of that, and
You hated it, didn't
I
you?
did not like
Yeah.
that whatsoever. So I probably will watch the second one, but the first one was woeful, so I'm intrigued to see what he did.
What is that, Jesse? I saw you.
It's like a horror. It's a horror genre film where they give a bunch of like some well-known and not well-known directors $5,000 each, and they give them a letter of the alphabet, and they say, okay, so your letter is D. You need to come up with a word or a theme that's with the letter D, and then use that $5,000 to create a story where the letter leads to the death of the character. So yeah, it's a really good concept.
So what did you watch?
I watched the first one, so there's 2 now. So I watched the first one, there's 2.5, there's another one. So I watched the first one, so I watched the A to Z of the first one. So his is the letter A in the second ABCs of Death. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend watching ABCs of Death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find it? Is he in Entourage?
Yes, there it is. I just got to it then.
Who's he play?
Andrew Klein.
Ah, yes, I thought so.
Yeah.
So he's the writer buddy trying to sign Aaron Sorkin, and he has the affair with Lizzie.
That's
and
right.
he ends up in jail.
Yeah, I remember the affair.
Because he drives his car into his house to try and get his notes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
What about the actors in this? Like I said before, I thought Jacki Weaver was really good. You know, I agree with Heath that the lines were pretty hammed up and over the top, but I thought she delivered them well. Anyone else probably would have thought it.
Yeah, I
wasn't. And I also thought she was looking pretty trim in this film.
She was actually.
She was looking really trim. Any other acting performances?
I thought that Nikolaj Coster-Waldau.
Well, you got his first name right.
Sure, you can call him Nikolaj.
Jamie Lannister. And I thought he was really good. I thought that Robert Forster, his father, was really good as well. I like his performance as well.
Yeah, nothing stood out particularly with the acting performances, but nothing was ordinary.
All right, well, let's have a look at the scenes. What were some of the scenes that we liked, MJ? What did you like?
Oh, you kind of touched on it before when the first night he gets out of jail and he gets beaten up in the car. Or sorry, he gets out of the car and gets beaten up. I thought it was a really cool shot of him. I say get beaten up. He beat the guys up in the rain, and we can only see the obscured version of it through the car window. So at that point, we really don't know much about Joe as a character still, and this sort of keeps the mystery around it, but reveals a little bit about his character.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that scene. It was excellent.
I had that as well. I really liked how the camera stayed in the car while the door closed, and all you could see was Cara sitting there watching what was going outside. She was like, "Oh, what?" Like you could see, "Oh, what have I done?" And then the door opens and it's him.
And
it's
you
like,
knew it was going to be him, didn't you? Like,
on the opposite, I had that in a scene I didn't like.
Oh no, really?
Really?
I wanted to see the outside. I wanted to see him beating up the guys outside. I didn't like the perspective from Cara inside the car, because you can just see it happening. And like you kind of know, Jamie's winning this fight. Joe is winning this fight. I'm like, I really wanted to see the outside. I wanted to see him doing the fight.
Cool. Anything else, MJ, that you like?
The whole sequence when he finds that, I guess you call it evidence about his mum and dad still seeing his daughters.
Yep.
And that kind of culminates into his mum getting shot when they go back downstairs after they've had a big blue. I thought by that point that actually built that scene up well enough for me to care about, the mum getting shot and to care about Joe, really blowing up about it. So it was really good emotional rise at that probably right time of the film too, because there wasn't too much else that got me going.
I really liked the way they did that as well, where the camera was literally outside the house and we could see with the silhouettes of their bodies downstairs, sort of thing. I thought that was done really well. And Joe yelled out like this line. It was like something about "You'll never hate me as much as I hate myself." And I was literally like, "Oh, okay." And then bang, you hear that gunshot. I just liked that. That was good.
No, that's it.
That's it. Heater.
I got a couple. So I liked kind of a small one, but at the start when he first gets home and he borrows his dad's truck and he pulls out the driveway and heads off, and then you see the car pull out and follow him around the corner.
Yeah.
Again, what I was saying before about just it builds suspicion of what's going on. This car is following him. Someone's following him. Oh, that was pretty cool. When Dan Pleasant walks up to Joe at the car and tases him.
Yeah, I've got that too.
It was hilarious. I don't know if it was supposed to be. And then he gets in the car, and then he suddenly goes from 0 to 100 and threatens to murder his parents if he doesn't do this. And I'm like, wow, that was just really intense. And I'm not sure if I was supposed to, but I found that whole scene hilarious.
It was
I was laughing
because it leads off with that, like the vomiting, which is like over the top vomiting.
Yeah.
And then like he's yelling at him because he wants to enjoy this new barbecue that he's bought, pretty much.
Yeah, the barbecue. Yeah.
That was funny.
I thought it was fantastic. That was great. And then also another scene where, again, I'm not sure if I was supposed to, but again, I found hilarious. The motel where they're shooting, the guy comes in and he shoots the prostitute. Again, that was really funny.
Funny?
Yeah. It was
Funny?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep, absolutely. Just because like the whole plan just stuffed up when I think it was the prostitute's her boyfriend or something comes in and there's a big shootout and it just screws up Joe's plan. He's just kind of sitting there like, what the hell? I thought it was great.
Good.
That's it though.
All right,
I
so
think that was supposed to be funny.
I think so.
That's what I said.
That was really grim.
I'm not sure if it was supposed to be, but I found that hilarious.
So, like, the opening scene, you see Joe, he's sitting there talking to that pastor before he's released, and, you know, he's talking about he wants this second chance. And so this set up for this, like, redemption sort of story. But then I also liked the rejection of the pastor, because he's like, do you want communion before you go? And he's like, no. And it made me, like, as I was going through, whenever he spoke with his mum, it just highlighted to me this conflict between his mum. So, like, I was like, that rejection from the communion at the start sort of led into this, and it made that conflict between his mum so impactful. And, you know, there's a scene where he's been called Joe the whole film, and then when she's really angry, she calls him Joseph, and I was just like, this is, you know, and she makes mention about she can't go to church without being looked at by Phil and all this sort of stuff. I was like, okay, maybe that rejection of that faith side of things is because he's already got this conflict with his mum. So I sort of liked those little bits.
That also highlighted the first time that he just completely lied through his teeth for an entire scene, and then when he walked out and he thought he kind of dropped the act, and then the priest was like, do you want communion? And he wasn't in that role anymore, so he was like, what? No,
I'm out.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, and that's me like, hang on, what's this?
Yeah,
guy?
was that all just a complete crap?
I thought when Joe goes to that bar and has his first drink since he's like being out, like I could feel how good that drink must have tasted for him.
You know what? They did do that well.
I was like, you can feel that he really enjoyed that drink.
That's a good point.
And there was this scene where like Joe was sitting in the bleachers and then Dan, the cop, comes over, and I thought like that was really nice setup of how they knew each other, because the scene before you'd seen him sitting there getting like yelled at, and then there was another scene that Dan made me laugh where he's like necking his beer and he crushes the can. He's like, oh, what am I thinking? I'm driving. I was like, that was funny.
Actually, I did actually like when they were sitting on the bleachers that Gary Cole comments on how thin he's looking out of prison, because I remember the opening scene. Obviously, we're used to seeing Nikolaj as Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. He's pretty big. I remember straight away looking at him going, wow, he is really thin. And I was really glad that they mentioned that somehow in the movie about how actual thin he was compared to what my memory is of him.
He was still shooting Game of Thrones at the time, so I think they just put him in really baggy clothes.
Yeah. But he just looked so little compared to Jaime Lannister's character.
Now, the last thing I thought was quite good was when Joe walks into the house and his dad's like, I need you to sit down and talk. And if that was his mum, he would have just ignored her straight away. Where it's his dad, so he sat down with him straight away and, you know, had that book, Understanding the Narcissistic Personality Disorder. And I was like, wow, this is pretty heavy. And, you know, the dad went in to say, look, you know, probably haven't been there to try and help you when you're younger, sort of thing. And I just thought that was a nice little moment between
Wasn't that
fathers.
such like a dad reaction to the situation where you can see they've
I've read a book.
They've gone to bed that night and the mum's like, you're not helping me at all. Like, can you just do something? You know that book that you read? Talk about that. Yeah, right, I'll try and do that. And, you know, he was awkward about the whole thing. It felt really good.
Any scenes that we didn't like?
Yeah, I mentioned the one about when he didn't shoot Phil. So he went into the house.
Yes.
Did we ever actually think in that scene that he was ever going to shoot Phil? Because they just rushed into that scene. All of a sudden, he's in the house and standing behind beside the bed.
Thought not a chance.
I think they could have done a really good job at really teasing it out a little bit further and watch him creaking around the house and maybe try not to get caught and all these things where it could have gone wrong, and then he still pulls out.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot more compelling.
Yep.
But they were just kind of like, oh, he's next to the bed. Oh, he's not going to do it.
I had that thought in my head that maybe, you know, he might use that gun to set him up, but then you know, he created this other elaborate thing to set him up with anyway.
Yeah, true. Did he want it? He got bloody lucky with that information, didn't he?
He sure did. And what was with that? So the exotic dancer that he set him up with, there was like some comment about, who's that creepy guy sitting in the front row? And it's like, it's her dad.
Oh, the guy who was...
the dancing place.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird.
It was like her minder.
Yeah.
You go, mate.
Oh yeah, so as I said before, I would have preferred to see Joe fight the guy outside the car. I didn't like Phil's death at the end, the car accident. it was just kind of like all of a sudden, and it was just kind of over. And I'm like, for kind of a pivotal character to Joe's story, I wanted just a lot more out of him. Just now being he was out of the equation. It's like, hey, it's all cool. That element's now out of the equation. I don't have to worry about it. I wanted more from that. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, he was watching this video in his car and he died.
It was kind of weird.
Very true, actually. Yeah.
And it was kind of weird that the whole film had been like. Narrative wise had been like, the time had been linear,
Yeah.
And then you've got this one little scene that's
Like, hey, where's Phil, by the way?
Yeah.
When he drove off that night?
Yeah.
He didn't get very far.
He died, yeah.
That's right, I forgot about that.
I didn't like that scene, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was just like, oh yeah, that's right, Phil's out of the picture now.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Well, similar thing for me, like, as in just getting characters out of the picture. I didn't like that gunfight at the end because it was just an easy way to kill off anyone that had anything against Joe. It was like, let's just kill everyone off.
So my question that I had that I think is probably now appropriate to cover now, what do we think about the whole, like, Scotty becoming this vigilante and all of a sudden becoming, like, the most dangerous player in the game in crunch time?
I feel like
he comes on the screen, I'm like, who the hell is that guy?
They needed to put a lot more into it than just he met him at the bar at the start and you knew he was friends with his brother.
Well, the only other time is when he's like, I'm getting interviewed by the DA.
Yeah.
And that's like, and then all of a sudden he's just there at the end in his camouflage, in his
gear.
army outfit, Marines outfit.
Yeah, it was a bit strange.
And that sort of storyline sort of confused me a little bit too because when Joe's in the kitchen and he's like, did anything happen to my brother that was a little bit untoward? And he just found out the previous scene that from Manny when he was on the hospital bed that the death was a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
But then like the end when they're in the car together, it made it out like, oh, you had a deal, you knew all along that it was dodgy, whereas they made it out like he didn't know it was. I don't know.
I kind of always thought that Joe was always
because
I think he was responsible.
Yeah.
I thought he was always trying to hide it from him, trying to act like, oh, I'm not sure, when really he was trying to hide any probably his own, like, his guilt about it, trying to hide it. But I think it was always, he just didn't want to tell his brother, hey, I killed your brother who was my mate.
Yeah.
That the whole last 15, 20 minutes was just like a bit of a dog's breakfast.
Yeah.
I thought it was just everything just kind of got
It was just kind of like, hey, we have to end this film. Let's just
like, Phil, we didn't kill him. Oh no, yeah, car crash.
Yeah.
It's like,
I agree.
Any other scenes, or we want to look at what the film was trying to say?
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, I'm good.
What do you think? What were some of the themes I was looking at?
I think for me, and it's all about. I think it's about the tough road to redemption. I think that's probably the best.
I think so.
Story that they're trying to tell. It begs the question of whether Joe actually truly wanted redemption.
Yeah.
But then, as I said earlier, is this a realistic depiction of someone who's just too far gone?
Yeah. Because even if he was trying to redeem himself, he still had always past life was still always catching up to him and wasn't even going to allow. Even if he tried harder, it probably wasn't going to allow him because of all his past sins.
And the irony being, by the end, kind of cleared the slate a little bit, and it was free to go start his new life.
Yeah, everyone was wiped off the board.
But then I guess you can't just get away with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so leading
Bites you on the arse.
No one's perfect. Everyone's got these flaws.
Yeah,
and even though it tries to promote these second chances and overcoming your mistakes, I think that. Yeah, I think Charlotte had this line where she was like, do you ever feel like you're living in the wrong skin? And do you want to start over? And he sort of like just wiped it off as like his response was like, yeah, sure, just to agree with her. Whereas I'm like, maybe you need to think about this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Another thing, go.
I also think there was a bit in terms of kind of what Joe was trying to do and then what Dan was trying to get him to do, a bit of kind of the desperation and what desperate people do kind of to save themselves.
Yeah, and like Dan was just as, if not more desperate than Joe. Like he was the one that said, I'm going to kill your parents. And then he's like, you know what, I like your parents.
Yeah,
I'll still kill them.
Yeah, the kind of things that he's willing to do to make sure that he's safe and in the clear.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff about anger as well, and actions that people take when this anger takes over. And they kept mentioning, you've got this anger, So, he was an angry character.
Well, how about Scotty at the end, just exploding?
He was very
with
angry,
anger,
yeah,
killing everyone. Did you take a shot at my house, Scotty? Yeah.
Okay.
I can't believe you said yes.
The other thing that I picked up on a little bit was this cars. So at the start when he's in the bar and that car, she talks him up like he's this car sort of thing, and when he's in the motel waiting for this whole scenario to play out, he's dancing to that car. It's like a tourist car jingle, and he's like sort of dancing to the car. And it just made me think, I'm like, without these car keys or the truck keys that he borrowed from his dad, he would never have been able to do any of the bad stuff that he did.
Yeah, okay.
Without that car, he wouldn't have been able to get anywhere.
Would have been stuck at home.
Yeah, so was his dad really to blame? His dad is more responsible, and massive.
Because his mum was just like, you're not getting the truck.
Yeah, the mum made lots of comments about, no, that's not your car, you're not driving it. So
it's almost like disciplining a teenager.
Yeah.
Like you're grounded. It's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, very good.
Did you have the subtitles on?
I did.
Because and when it had the jingle on, it actually said like whatever car
tourist
jingle.
car. Yeah, that was probably why I wrote it down. Yeah. You had the subtitles on too, then.
Yeah, I did.
Good. Good. What do we take from the film then?
Well, this is kind of where I want to talk about the ending. I would have had it in the scenes that I didn't like, but I just feel like because if you don't like the final scene of a film, I think it's got bigger repercussions than just that was a bad scene. And I didn't like the repercussions off the back of those actions, and like I think I said before, I didn't know how I wanted this film to end. And I still can't think of a better way to end it because I think they just dug themselves into a hole. But we didn't deserve Joe to sort of walk off in the distance with a happy ending, and they made it quite clear that he hadn't really grown too much as a character. But to end with that unbelievable weight of a father having to murder his son was a little bit too much for me to swallow, especially with the father, as we spoke about, being one of the few characters that we kind of liked. He's got to live with that weight for the rest of his life, that he murdered his son. And it doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that would cope well living with that weight.
Yeah, I agree.
And I didn't like leaving on that page where his dad is the one that is so almost like the victim in this. And not the victim for any other reason than his own conscience.
But he's protecting his grandchildren.
He's doing a lot of right things, but he's not going to cope well with that. And then end scene, we'll never see you again. And in my head, I'm like, this poor guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't sit well with me. But I didn't know how I would have ended it.
I think they needed to like make it obvious that there was no one good in this film, so they needed him to do something bad.
Yeah, sure, but couldn't he have just? Yeah.
Here's the thing, like, I can't think of another way to end the film that would satisfy.
You know what? I would have been happier if Joe had got away. I would have been happier than this.
Yeah. Really?
Joe had it. Yeah, but I wouldn't have been satisfied.
He would have got away with no redemption, and that. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But it didn't sit well with me at all. But as I said, I think it's a really difficult thing to make a film like this and close it off, and they didn't close it off for me.
Okay.
That's one of my biggest criticisms.
I thought the cast was pretty good, really, and I like the color palette. Fat in really well with the genre and the style of the film, like the greys and the dark greens. I thought that was really nice. That style of
How gross were his outfits? Jeez, he looked shopping. Like,
the green shirt,
but that was like the jail shirt.
But he was still wearing something like pretty similar afterwards, though.
Browny, musky polo top.
Yeah.
I don't say this wouldn't have been horrible on the big screen either.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, because whilst I don't think the film is that great, I do like this kind of story. I'm pretty intrigued into reading the book, the actual novel of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon that'd be pretty good, and I think I'd enjoy that.
Report back.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
That'd be good.
I've already looked it up, so...
Is it at the library?
No, it's on Book Depository, pretty cheap, though.
Okay. Oh, good.
So,
how much?
$15.
Yeah, totally.
IMDb time?
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it's so, if we had a point at the film where we looked anyone up on IMDb to see if we've seen them from something before.
I feel bad about my IMDb because it was MJ's in Rebirth and I just completely missed it. It was Junior Vassie, who was Pat Healy, who was Jeff Carson in Draft Day. And I'm like, hang on, he was in Rebirth because he was MJ. So yeah, he came on and I'm like, oh, I know you. And I'm like, oh, Draft Day. Oh my God, he was in a Netflix film like a few weeks ago.
So you recognise him from Draft Day before Rebirth?
Yep.
But you didn't recognise him in Rebirth from Draft Day?
No. And that adds to my case. Go back and watch Rebirth and look at my rating on it, and that'll tell you why he doesn't remember anything.
You know what? I wrote down Pat Healy.
Did you like
Jesse in Rebirth?
No.
Okay, good. Yeah, I didn't either.
I wrote down Pat Healy, but I didn't
But you knew exactly who he was. Yeah,
Rebirth Draft.
Yeah. Jeff Carson.
Yeah, Jeff Carson from Draft Day, who gives Sonny his picks back.
Yeah, he does.
I had two. I looked up Gary Cole. just because I needed to know where he's from.
So
So
I was just looking at him then, and he's in about 45.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Pineapple Express.
He's got small parts in everything.
Yeah, I think Pineapple Express is what I remembered him from most. The other one I looked up was Joe's dad, Robert Forster, who we've all spoken about.
Yeah.
Because I recently watched The Descendants with George Clooney, and he plays the father-in-law, like the father of his wife who's dying.
I looked at him as well, and he's in so much stuff. But I have seen the Descendants a while back, and I'm like, maybe it's that I really recognise him. But he's so damn recognisable.
He is.
I felt like it was something that I'd seen more recent, but he's in a ton of stuff. For me, it was Molly Parker, who played Charlotte. Jacki Sharp from House of Cards.
Yeah.
I knew she was. Yeah, I knew she was House of Cards, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah, Sherry's thinking like, you're House of Cards.
Yeah.
Good.
Still think it was just a bad role, that one for her. Not for her. I just don't think that role was.
Just
was
for a good role in general.
Yeah.
All right. Got any questions that we want to ask?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking that I missed something here because it hasn't come up in the conversation yet. But what happened to Charlotte in the end?
She got killed by Junior.
Was there? Did we see her dead? Or was it just
No, we didn't see her dead, but Junior basically told Joe that he killed her.
Yeah, so he opened that hatch in the lawn, and that just showed you his response. If he actually cared about her, there would have been some emotion. But he literally lifted the hatch and he looked at his face.
Yeah.
And there was no. He's like, she's dead. There was no tears, nothing.
Yeah. See, I thought there was a part of me that thought that he saved her by opening up the hatch and was kind of just like, get yourself out. I've got things to do.
She was dead.
That's it. And then I'm like, did he just leave her? And I guess
Junior killed her.
Cool. But I didn't miss anything at least.
No, you didn't. No.
I just think Joe's such a bad bloke.
My question's basically been answered kind of throughout this whole discussion, but I mean, no one was rooting really for anyone in this film.
That's what I had that as
Really?
well. Did you sympathise with anyone in this film? Like, and I couldn't.
Maybe the parents, now that we think about it.
No, I still can't because they were still hiding up to him. They were seeing the grandkids. So
Yeah, but for the right reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely kind of feel, I guess at the end we talked about for his father, but up until the last 10 seconds throughout the entire movie, I wasn't rooting for anyone. Or really, there was no one to go
it
for.
set the parents up as horrible at the start. Anyway, like the mum's off seeing the grandkids, and the dad won't tell him, and then the dad apologizes. Oh, sorry, we didn't visit you at jail for 6 years as well. So it's like, yeah.
But you know what? I guess if you've got this troubled son, at what point do you sit there and go, "There's nothing more we can do"?
But I guess it was a bit strange. I think is that the dad, he didn't visit him in jail, but as soon as him out, he welcomes him back into his home.
Yeah, true. I had a cut. So I was like, we've probably already touched on this, but was there a character that hadn't done anything bad? I feel like they all probably had. I don't think there's any character there that you can say was a good character or did something nice.
No, you're right.
And the other one was like, is Charlotte worse than Joe? Like, she killed Manny. We never actually saw Joe go out of his way to kill someone. Like, he killed someone in that shootout, but he didn't go out of his way to kill anyone.
That's the thing.
Well, he lets Scotty die.
But he didn't kill him. There's not much you could have done with Scotty.
Could you him to the hospital?
I think he was well and truly gone. But he did wipe the car down too. So.
You're right, actually. He doesn't actually kill anyone.
No. And the other one, so Charlotte made this quote where she's like, "We aren't defined by our past," and she says to Joe, "You remade yourself and you chose to be a good man." And I was like,
Yeah,
no, you didn't.
I was like, did he really? No, he didn't. No, not at all.
Maybe I missed how much they were trying to ham up the fact that she's a crazy cat lady.
Yeah. Definitely crazy cat lady.
Because the whole time I'm just like, why are you doing this? You don't need to be involved in this. Don't be an idiot.
All right, so I think we're ready to wrap this up. We always have a look at a film rating out of 5 we give it, and have a bit of a chat about why we gave that rating. MJ, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so the film never really quite hit the mark with me. It piqued my interest early, but slowly started to lose me, and then really fell off the cliff by the end. 2 stars.
Cool. So I thought the acting performances were good, and like I said earlier, and it's a little bit embarrassing, I was probably along a little bit more, like I'd seen this before, but I was probably along for the ride because I was a little bit confused with my own recollection. Sometimes it's good to go back and watch a film and have a deeper look at it because you get something out of it that you didn't get before, and it's when you're actually looking at a film, you probably get more of it than when you just sit back and relax. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
3?
Yeah, heater.
So yeah, I thought this film was okay. So it's my kind of film, but it didn't quite deliver on, I guess, like how good it could have been. I thought the acting, especially Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, was good. It did. It does have me intrigued to read the book because of the story, but the film just never hooked me into the story of it. I give it 2.5.
2.5. All right, what does that give us as an overall average?
2.5.
2.5.
You guys are good with your maths.
Well, you and me gave it either side of the 2.5, and then Healy gave it the 2.5.
Yeah, I'm not good.
That's okay. That's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why you guys are here. So we are on social media. We've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram @FlixForum. We're going to chuck a question up there this week. The question is, did Joe ever really want to change? Did he want to? Because we've discussed that he didn't.
Yeah,
so do we think
to?
that he wanted to?
It's a good question.
Or did his circumstances not allow for that? So did he really want to?
I want to say that I think he did want to, but it was just much easier to fall back
into it, the old times. Anyway, so we are on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Podbean, so if you can, please subscribe to us, download each of our episodes, even if you don't listen to them, just download them. That would be awesome.
Tell your friends.
Give us a 5-star rating, please. Next week, we are looking at the 2017 comedy. It's called Handsome, a Netflix mystery movie. It's directed by Jeff Garlin, and it stars Jeff Garlin, Natasha Lyonne, Amy Sedaris, Leah Remini, Christine Woods, and Stephen Weber. So that's what we're looking at next week.
Cool.
Hope you're feeling better by next week, MJ.
Yeah, fingers crossed. See how we go.
See how we go. So, yeah, as usual, had a good time, guys. Good chatting.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, mate. It was good.